Showtime!
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to your seats.
Showtime!
Please make your way to your seats. The show is about to begin.
Showtime!
Let the magic begin.
Welcome to Futuretech.
Yeah. Sound suppressing silk can create quiet spaces. Now, This is amazing because let's face it, once COVID started, we have a lot more people living with a lot more people rather than living on their own.
Yeah.
And having your own space and, everyone's doing calls from, home and you got 3 or 4 people doing it. We need more quiet space. So how does this work?
Yeah, so this is really cool. I like this because especially nowadays with how crappy these buildings, these condos are getting and the thin walls and all that sort of stuff, this is great. So again, MIT, always cool stuff coming out of MIT. They've developed an ultra thin silk fabric that's embedded with vibrating fibers that can actively cancel noise or reflect sound. So the silk, what it does is it contains piezoelectric fibers that vibrate when voltage is applied. So it's acting kind of like as a loudspeaker. So you could essentially use these as big loudspeakers instead of your surround sound. I don't know. We'll get into that later. But the vibrating the fibers, what that does is it generates sound waves that destructively interfere to cancel the unwanted ambient noise. And so surprisingly, holding the fabric itself, it still allows it to reflect and block sound transmission just through the material without applying a voltage. So it's a lightweight, efficient sound reduction using common fabrics. So this is cool. I think there's great use cases for this. So the thing with the piezoelectric materials is they produce electricity when bent or squeezed. And here, when they vibrate to generate sound, that's when electricity is applied. So the active noise cancellation, it uses sound waves that are about 180 degrees out of phase with ambient noise. The combined effect cancels out sound. So getting into kind of the nuances, and I know this because we did this in school, is the only way to cancel out sound is by generating a opposite sine wave. So when it peaks, when the sound peaks, there's a valley, right? So that's essentially what they've created, which is really cool. And so it's there's a lot of potential here. That's the word I was looking for. Jesus.
Yeah, whenever we talk about piezoelectric stuff, it's always exciting.
Yeah.
How well does it dampen the sound or soundproofing? Like, are we going to go back to the 70s and instead of doors, we have these little drapes in the windows, but they actually stop sound now?
For sure. Well, yeah. So the article itself, so it appears very promising, but it may not be as effective at sound blocking as traditional soundproofing materials like foam or insulation at this point. So the thing and I did some background research here, the silk fabric, it reduced sound transmission by up to 75% in testing, which is significant, but not total blocking, right? So conventional soundproofing can achieve 90% or higher in reduction, but you need to put these panels on your walls. So, or the other thing too, people, if you don't know this, you can use eggshell cartons as sound dampeners. You can put those on your walls if you want. Paint them black, put them up on your wall. The way it works, the way that sound dampeners work, these panels and stuff, is they have sharp angles, like they look like pyramids that are protruding out, and that essentially cancels out the sound. So it kind of muffles it or stops the sound wave from going any further. So getting back to the silk technology, it relies on a passive vibration dampening and active noise canceling. So traditional materials are passive and block sound through absorption and mass density, like I was just talking about. The silk fabric is extremely thin and lightweight, so that's really good compared to other materials. So this allows you can just, like you said, you can drape it. You can put up curtains and different things like that. So the thing is it makes it well suited for applications where standard soundproofing is impractical or too bulky. So obviously this is new technology. It's still in development, but like having 75% in testing right now is really good. I think they'll be able to achieve 100% at some point. Maybe not, but.
So I was going to ask about volume, and maybe I will still, but it says 65. It can significantly reduce the volume of sounds up to 65 decibels, about the as loud as an enthusiastic human conversation. So this is great for like podcast studios or whatever, right? And I see this being great for, like I said, if we put these in front of the doors in houses and stuff, if I'm getting a 75% reduction noise coming out of my room, and you're getting a 75% reduction of noise going into your room, that's going to be some pretty quiet stuff.
Yeah. And what happens if you put one on each side
of the door, for example?
What's that?
Yeah, on the door. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why I think there'll be like in houses, you wouldn't just have one. No. Is all I'm saying, because you'd and the question becomes is, if someone's playing the TV too loud or playing loud music, how effective is this going to be?
Well, yeah. So just so music or loud TV can reach up to 100 dBs, right? And then just to put things into perspective, construction tools can be between 100 and 120 decibels. But like, I think this would be good for even in hotel rooms where you just put it in front of the door to the hallway, because you can hear everything in those hallways, right? By putting up this silk curtain, boom, you're reducing the hallway noise by 75%. So,
yeah, and in co-working spaces, we love working at Workhouse. They got 9 to 10 locations in Toronto that you can drop in anytime. So check them out. But I love their marble floors at 30 Wellington that we're walking on. But, they're noisy when you're walking down them as an individual, or if you're in the lounge and there's a bunch of conversations happening. It's not necessarily too noisy, but I'm saying this now allows much more sound control for companies where there's a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Where, soundproofing is ridiculously expensive. So that's my next thing is, great. How expensive is this going to be? Yeah, so it doesn't provide exact cost estimates, but so the materials used are relatively low cost. So you're using silk, cotton, muslin fabric, along with the piezoelectric fibers. So they're not overly exotic components. The fabrication process seems straightforward using standard textile manufacturing methods like weaving and sewing. So this could enable quick scalable production. The only thing is the specialized piezoelectric fibers are likely more expensive currently until they're mass produced. So the other thing too is if you do add voltage generators, that's going to require an added cost, but I don't think that's too much. Voltage generators have been around for years. So obviously the cost I think is going to be higher initially, but there is potential for it to drop because it's not like they're using carbon nanotubes or anything exotic, right? It's all known technologies that's been around for years. It's just a matter of integrating them and figuring out how to mass produce it. Yeah, and it looks like it's funded here by the National Science Foundation, the Army Research Office, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, and the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, which sticks out a little there. But
yeah,
we always talk about the military doing these things, and obviously this is there's all sorts of military applications for this. I'm more interested in the consumer applications. Is this going to be cheap enough that we're going to like put it in standard buildings? Like in a house, we'll put one of these in between floors so the noise is severely reduced, or in the walls between apartment buildings or whatever.
Yeah, it's like so I don't think you could put it in the walls. I think you could put it on top of the walls just because obviously it needs to vibrate, right? And so if you put it in the walls, you're restricting it because if you have insulation in there too, it might not be able to vibrate. But I think even just I think we're going to have a lot of curtains and a lot of silk fabrics draping over walls in the future, maybe unless they design something else. using this technology. But
what kind of, now we're saying what it do is creates the opposite signals from the highs and the lows. It's the opposite. So we're always talking about electric signals and interference and, all the stuff that's running through our bodies and from Wi-Fi and all the other signals in the house. Is this going to have health impacts too? Because this sounds like instead of reducing, we're applying more signals.
Yeah, well, you've used noise canceling headphones before, right? So
Yep.
When you put them on your ears, right, you feel a pressure difference. So active noise canceling, how it works is it generates sound waves that interfere with noise. So they cause pressure on the eardrum. So if you get close to these drapes, that could cause pressure on the eardrum over time. Who knows? The other thing to think about that you might not is hearing perception. So continually dampening ambient noise could possibly impact natural hearing ability over time. Obviously, it could be reversible once it's stopped, but a cognitive effects altering the auditory environment long-term may potentially affect cognition. Electrical safety, so obviously any electrical malfunction. The other thing too is eye strain. So the subtle noise interference effect over many hours daily could hypothetically cause eye or brain strain, but again, it's uncertain. So again, and taking all that into effects, maybe there's psychological effects. So there's these are speculative. So they're gonna have to do a thorough biocompatibility test for short and long-term safety. Absolutely, 100%.
While I've never knowingly been inside a skiff, I walk by one every day when I was working at Bell Mobility. I don't exactly remember what skiff stands for, but it's secure communication, something. It's soundproof room with all secure info that no one can spy on, that military and governments use. But I'd walk by, when I was working at Bell Mobility, and I had no idea what it was, but immediately that pressure would hit my ear, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I didn't really know that it was this active noise cancellation that was hitting me. As I just didn't know. I was like, wow, that's weird. It also had the weird foam things and whatever. It had everything, but I could imagine it wasn't subtle to me. I could imagine working in that would not be good for you long term. No,
absolutely not.
So let's get to the obvious question. When can we get some?
I'm guessing again. I don't know. I would say if they can, like they've already have the proof of concept. If they wanted to start mass producing this now, they could potentially if they have the right components and things like that. So I'm guessing like high cost 3 to 5 years, low cost 5 to 10.
I'm looking forward to it. Quieter home is a happy home.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that was